The cross is the international sign of Christianity. It reminds me that after 3 days, Jesus rose from the grave. Spin that on Fox News. See, I'm fired up because when God starts using me to preach the gospel, you're going to be wondering if you're watching that skinny Asian kid from Magnolia, Texas, or Paul, the apostle. But don't get it twisted. It's not about me, it's about Jesus and the sacrifice he made on the tree so that I can be free, believe me. I've been on empty and in need of a reload. I was lost in a sea of fear and doubt until he found me, like Nemo. Let me refresh your memory for you in case it's diminished. It is finished. See, those were Jesus' last words. As he hung on a cross for 6 hours, he didn't die from blood loss because his hemorrhaging lung was killing him faster. And I bet you didn't learn that from your pastor because they sugarcoat the word and try to preach the sermon faster. And I can spit a fast verse and tell you about my holy dad, Troy, as he watched his only son get torn to shreds with his creation, made a glad smirk. But would that work? Well, I'm sorry, I hope that didn't hurt. But if you listen to the last verse, you would know that we are quickly headed for disaster. So let me paint a picture. My dad is a pastor. Let's say he had to watch me, his oldest son, suffocate to death while all of his other kids sat back and laughed. After you realized that you sat by and watched your brother slowly die, as hours passed, would you then have the audacity to ignore your dad because he's calling for you? To be holy, set apart, to stand up. See, at the altar call, I could choose to put my hand up. Well, what good would that do me if I didn't also choose to man up? Yes, it's a choice. God gave us free will, but we're more worried about what Sister Susie said and about that same-sex marriage bill. Meanwhile, at Sandy Hooks, a shitty crook goes in with an Uzi and sprays, and a whole nation prays. But what is prayer without action, but words and in vain? Evidently, it's dozens of innocent children slain because I bet you that man didn't just wake up one day and decide that he should have been in elementary school for some sick game. And I've racked my brain for an answer, and if sin is our disease, then we hypocrites must be cancer. Because when we get to heaven, watch the disciples. What was it like to be with Jesus? It's after you stand right beside you, and they'll look back at us and say, well, I was going to ask what it was like to have a spirit live inside you. So you take that for granted, don't you? For things that please us, let me tell you the story of a man I know. His name is Jesus. He walked the Via Dolorosa with the cross on his back, broken and bruised, looking into the faces of his creation, completely heartbroken because they were using the very voices he created to betray him, but still he kept going. And after 6 hours of hanging on to his life, he took our sins and went to hell until Satan got his new wife. He walked right past the demons and he stole the keys from Satan. Well, it's not stealing that they were yours in the first place, so we retrieved the keys, because after all, he made them. He slowly died and endured for 6 hours. That's 360 minutes. By the end of the words I just spoke, I hope your faith hasn't diminished, because only chapter 1 is done. We still have the Great Commission. When Jesus spoke his last words, he meant that his job was done. His chapter's been written, so now it's our time to stand up, go forward, and preach the gospel, because our chapter, it isn't finished. Yeah!